your outlook.
Yes.
Here, when we look at this, that these two things are important to know. God does not allow God does not allow always an answer of our prayer immediately.
That's right.
I had asked God where it came from, but he didn't answer it immediately. But see, if you keep on asking and you keep on pressing into God gonna give you what you need, but he got to make sure that he go past motive. See, if you just asking him just to get the motive of who it is, it's not so much about who the person is, it's about what it is to you. What I mean by that God is still able, spite of what devil tries to come against you, that God is still able. It's not so important to know who it is. It's important to know who he is. That means who God is in your situation. Here, when we look at this, this is very interesting. Why is it very interesting? That sometimes we need to learn to trust him more on building up a greater sense of need of desperation. So sometimes when you're going through, God is only building up a greater need for you to be desperate about your need. See, it isn't until God don't answer it all of a sudden. And sometimes it take a while before he answer it. Why? Because he's created whether you desire it or whether you desperately need it. Why? Because need and want are two different things. See, if need, oh my God, lasts more than 24 hours and you still 3 years later asking God about the same thing, that becomes a need. Oh my God. That becomes a need.
Go ahead, preacher.
It's not just a want, because want will deteriorate because it will not be no effort put in it. But when you need something from God, and when you need God to do it, you will start pressing and pressing and pressing. Focusing us to seek and knock and preserve, doing both. Once God answers our prayer, we learn to trust him more. There is another critical matter as well, forcing us to stay on our knees until the perseverance and prayer day after day keeps us in his presence. Oh my God. So sometimes God don't answer your situation. It's because he needs to have you to learn how to persevere and prayer and stay in his presence until he show up.
Yes.
Okay, all right. What do you mean then? Deep concentration. Prayer provides some of the sweetest communion and fellowship ever experienced. Such communion and fellowship is what God is after. So you saying how long I'm gonna be here, or how long I gotta go through this, and how long I gotta struggle like this? Maybe he is pressing you so you will stay in his presence, because before that you was going around and I'll throw a prayer up, you know, I got a little minute, I got a minute. But when you got something that's desperate in your life that need a quick attention from God, and God is the only one that can heal it, God is the only one can deliver it, God is the only one that can make it happen, what he does is he keep you on your knees, and it seems like it get closer to the deadline, but God is still able, no matter what the adversary has set up. I don't care what the devil has said, I don't care what the report is, I don't care what the lawyer or the judge said, but God here, when we look at this, it ain't until God says so, and it ain't over until God says. I don't care if it's 1 second before our answer gotta be made known. God only need a moment. Touch your neighbor, say all they need is a moment. All they need is a moment to speak in your life, and your life will totally change radically here. When we look at this, that God is saying all they need is a moment. I've been suffering, preacher, for many years. You really don't know how it feels to go through. You really don't know what my situation is. I might not know what your situation is, but I do know what going through is. Your situation might not be like my situation, but situation, whatever it is, when you are going through, Look at this. And I say unto you, ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you. And Luke chapter 11 verse 9. Now there was believing and obeying in this. You might say, what are you trying to say? Jesus did not heal the lepers immediately. Sometime you get a word from God that he gonna do something in your life, but you don't see no signs or evidence that it's going to be done right then and there. It seems like everybody is against you, and I still don't see no evidence that God is going to make a way out of no way. It seems like everybody is against me. It seems like the enemy is winning. But see, let me share with you. It's not by sight that we are led. It's by the Spirit. Yeah, when we look at this, this is very interesting. There were things that they had to do, that they was instructed, that they had to be obedient to have these needs met. They were to obey the law. Remember that God has a way in which we need to follow instructions if you want your need to be met. And God will always give you instructions on how to come out of your situation. See, some of us want God to make a way when you don't got no relationship with him. See, God is going to convict you then. Why? That you're a sinner, that you need to be saved by the grace of God. But see, then it's those that need to be convicted about how they approach God. Here, when we look at this, there were things that they had to do, instructed that they had to obey, to have their needs met, but they were to obey the law. Go to the priest and report that they had been cleansed. If they obeyed the law and believed the Lord's word, can I step back for a minute? Had you not forsaken the assembly of us together when you were sick and going through, I understand when you got to be on bed rest, but what about the other sickness that didn't lay you in the bed but just laid you in the house and you just didn't want to come out because you didn't want to come out? Maybe that might have been the day that the sermon might have been yours. Maybe that might have been the day that God answered your prayer. Maybe that might have been the day. Oh my God. Yeah. What are you saying, preacher? The promise of cleansing. They would be cleansed. Now, this is very interesting. Note something. They were cleansed as they went. And I think we forget that we get cleansed as we keep going to the house of the Lord where the priest is at. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I'm about to hit something in a minute. High five your neighbor and say, put on your spiritual ears. I can't miss this.
Put on your spiritual ears. I can't miss this.
Now, I'm not trying to get religious on you, but I want to share something with you that God is making evident in your life. See, if God has given you something called a preacher after his own heart, so that means he's carrying and packing some healing and some deliverance in them. Why? Because they got to be able to do what God called them to do in the house of the Lord. Here, okay, watch this. This was a great legacy of faith to leave from succeeding generations. In Hebrews chapter 11 verse 7, think about the great belief they had in Jesus' word and power. They had to strike out for the temple to be inspected and pronounced cleansed, and they were not even healed yet. You don't see no evidence of your life changing. It's not that it's not en route, but see, on your way of continually to come to the house of the Lord, can I just go through an example and show you something? See, on your route to the continuous coming of God isn't day by day. Oh, I want to make sure I put emphasis on that. It's not day by day, but it's the continuous pursuit after coming not just to the church, but coming to God day by day. That's when you're working it out. But what he's saying, long as you live on earth, that you continuously come at me, then I will heal you. Here, when I look